As chair, my suggestion to these requests is basically to allow the city of Byron their request based on the funds that we have. They're requesting $58,956.25 in order to purchase 5 mobile and 5 portable radios. Due to the fact the city of Byron Fire Department do not have radios at this time. Like these other municipalities, they already have radios and they have computers and things that they're using. And I'm hoping and I feel sure that they can wait until our funds are placed back in that fund around March, April, or something that time. So basically, my request, as far as these requests that are coming from the 911 Council, is to approve the $58,956.25 amount to the City of Byron Fire Department to purchase 5 mobiles and 5 portable radios, subject to the interlocal agreement that the county has that the City of Byron Fire Department will provide make, model, and serial numbers of their purchase after they have purchased these equipments to the county, so that we will know that in case there is any services to be provided for these equipment, we will know that these were purchased with the Hinds County E911 funds.
Just a quick question. Overall, and I was jotting down these numbers and then trying to add with you. Everybody except the city of Jackson's totals come to about $149,000, $150,000.
Everybody totals come, except the city of Jackson and the sheriff department, it comes to $143,729.
All right, and the sheriff's department's another $9,000?
$9,646.
So about $153,000.
Yes.
And you have $350,000 in the fund, is that correct?
Remaining, somewhere between $330 and $350.
I'm asking this question, I just want to make sure. Is there a way, or would you feel comfortable with doing every request except the one for the city of Jackson? Terry, Utica, the Hinds County Sheriff's Department, the ones with Clinton, in addition to the ones with Byron, and still leaving about $150,000 roughly dollars in there?
Yes. Basically, and the reason I'm requesting basically is because I'm looking at the emergency side of the 911 system. We pay out in just alone monthly payments, and if you notice today, we pay out
the phone bill.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to state. The phone bill plus the maintenance contract add up to about $225,000 a month, and that's basically what we take in per month is about $220,000, if I'm not. $250. So you're looking at $250 taken in per month, and you're paying out $225.
So to answer my question, you would or you would not feel comfortable?
I would feel comfortable that the board made a recommendation other than the virus to revisit this request after the funding get placed back into the 911 funds roughly around March or April.
Okay.
Let me ask Dan, Mr. Lewis, what position, say for instance, Terry or the city of Jackson, what is there an emergency need at this time on these items? If there be, as it is, or can it be broken to the point that would, and I don't know whether that could work or not, because we don't want to put none of these towns, even though we don't have them, even though the money may not be there, we don't want to put them in an awkward position on an emergency, and I guess that's what I'm looking at.
I feel that this will not be putting those communities in jeopardy, but it will be somewhat putting the county system itself in jeopardy without funding to cover any serious emergency that occurs to the system itself. Basically, the only emergency that I see, and I'm not saying it's an emergency because the volunteer fire department is currently providing services for the Byron area. But since the Byron Fire Department don't have any equipment, that's why I make that suggestion. But all the other entities, they are operating. They do have equipment. So I don't think it would put them in an emergency state.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Lewis, I wanted you to explain why the funds are rapidly being depleted, because it's not just because this board is approving the amount that the municipalities are requesting, but there is another reason our funds have rapidly been decreasing over the years.
Ms. Calhoun, it's my understanding that if you consider years back that there were more landlines, people had more landline phones, and those funds were based on the landline phones at that time, and not taking anything away from the cell phone, but I don't think it's generating the same amount of funding that it was during the landline situation. So that's my understanding of
But
it.
the other part to that is that we're paying a note, for instance, for the city of Jackson,
Yeah, we still
system,
$750,000
$750,000 a year note on all the systems that we have, including, I guess, is ours.
Yours just paid off.
Ours paid
County
off.
note 97 has been paid off.
So that's where a buck of them.
Yeah, and that comes up in March. So if the taxes come in March, that's $750 that comes off the top. So $750,000 that comes off the top. So that's basically my request for today when it comes to.
But I understand. I want to hear you explain. I understand.
I move that we move forward on Mr. Lewis's recommendation to provide the monies for the city of Byron's radios.
Something second.
Mr. Moore, proper second. Discussion.
I have one, if I may. That it be included that they abide by the interlocal agreement of providing us with make, models, and serial. If you include that.
So
All in favor, side? Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried.
And the next one is I'm requesting that you would revisit the other communities in March or April whenever the funding comes back to the county.
Okay. I see Mr. The proper Mr. Horton.
Yes.
That how does that leave the city? I just want to make sure that we and give us that exact tower. I apologize.
That's all right. Good morning. I'm Deputy Chief Lindsay Horton of the Police Department. And I just would like to say, having listened to Mr. Lewis, I don't know whether that time in March is, while there are any guarantees of what, I do not know. And I know we have to wait and see what comes in. But currently our requests pretty much reflect an ongoing process of procurement for radios. While we are in good shape as it relates to communication, we have ongoing recruit classes. We currently have classes in session now. This is graduating on Thursday, and we anticipate starting another one in January and, of course, in April. And the process tends to take a while, the purchase of radios and procurement, and that we issue radios to our recruits while they are in training, that they may learn the proper operation, apparatus, and nomenclature of the radio so that when they hit the street, they're ready to go. And that's why we're trying to get ahead of the game, because the procurement process takes such a long time. That's primarily why we're making this request in order to accommodate future recruit class that we have coming up here in the near future.
Okay. Ms. Kevin.
Whereas we understand that the minimum that the city of Jackson faces if funds are not made available, but we can only approve those funds when we have them in the account, the E911 account. And right now, those funds are not there in the E199, in the E911 account. And by the law does not mandate this board to fund the city of Jackson. However, the law does provide and often provides and authorizes this board to allocate fundings from the E991 account, E911's account. But I don't know what the solution is, because this board certainly cannot afford to purchase radios from our general funds, and we're not going to purchase radios from our general fund.
I do understand that, if I may. We could very well come back and represent. Mr. Lewis made a recommendation that we could very well embrace, come back and see how solid we are in March with that recommendation. And I think we can make an adjustment.
Let me ask a couple questions here that might help us a little bit. Now, we do interfund loan, and my question to Ms. Clerk is there a possibility, what's that amount for the city?
Around $430,000.
Is there any bond, interfund loan that could be made to the 911 fund that would hold until the taxes come in?
At this point, in speaking with Ms. Woods on your cash flow basis, there may be other funds that could be used for that, but I wouldn't recommend it since you've been borrowing from that fund. It kind of muddies your water.
You can look into it in January.
Yeah, and actually at your third Monday meeting, you may be able to pay back some of these loans because a portion of your money will come in mid-January.
Let me caution you on this. Mr. Lewis, how much did you say comes in monthly? So you got to look at that as well. According to the clerk's office, if you borrow, if you make interloan transfers, you'll have to pay that money back. Right. But at the rate of I understand, Mr. Smith, if you would listen, please. I understand that. At the rate, if I heard you correctly, you said the monthly total, or the average total coming into the E911 account is how much?
According to the clerk, about $250,000.
$250,000. So you understand, if you're only getting $250,000 a month and you're getting ready to make a big payment of $400 and some thousand, you literally for a while will bankrupt the E911's account. So my point is, I think it would be best that we revisit this issue again in March, and the city is willing to revisit the issue in March, because you don't want to bankrupt that account. If you bankrupt it, you won't have a penny to pay the rest of the bills that you have to pay out of that account.
Well, that was you saying,
yes, sir.
But I was just saying on borrowing until
no, I don't think.
In, which we've done this morning.
That's not going to be good because you. Right.
But then you don't want to do it in January. That's fine. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Question from yes, sir.
Mr. Smith, my name is Marshall Robinson, the fire chief of the city of Byram, and I appreciate the board's action for the city of Byram. My question is the county, because I'm assuming the revenue status is not something that's just occurred, it's something that's kind of been long term as far as dwindling funds over the lifetime. have we as a county, as an emergency services officials and county leaders, have we begun to look at how we're going to approach these revenue streams? I realize that these are trying times, whether you're baking bread or fighting fires or chasing bank robbers. But I think one of the things that we need to really be looking at this point is how in the future we're going to be able to fund purchases and provide radio communications for public safety. I recognize Chief Horton's dilemma and ability of putting out. And I'm in the same boat. It's just that I would ask the board, either through the board's operation or through asking of the 911 council, do we or can we come up with some recommendations to look at future expenditures, but also look at future revenues and how we can take some of that burden of financial management off of Director Lewis.
Well, let me just say the council is the one that make the recommendations, take the recommendation from all political subdivisions, and according to the amount of funds that's available, and bring it to the board. That's the only avenue that I know of that the 911 funds come from is from phone revenue, according to the legislation that's set up.
Excuse me, if I may say, there's another avenue of the E911 funds that needs to be considered when looking at E911 funds, because those funds are basically generated to operate a system according to the law. There are things that are being requested or other items that they call excess funds, which is not really required. You're talking about computers and all these other things that is really not required. So you're talking about 911 funds that are generated in order to maintain the system and not these other things that the law allows to be purchased. That's another thing we need to consider. If we can cut out a lot of the other extra things like computers and all those things, then I think it possibly, we're going to come short on funds somewhere, but it possibly there will be sufficient funds to maintain this system.
Okay. That's something I guess you can work with the council with and the board.
But I just wanted to make you aware of that, whereas a lot of the requests that are being made are not based on the system. They're based on other things that the law allows these funds to be purchased or used for purchase.
What you need to do then is bring to the council, number one.
Well, they already know it.
I know it, but I'm just saying, give them those items that the law request us to fund through 911 and let them decide whether or not.
And also, I'm not to cut you off, Mr. Smith. And also, this same information was brought before the council as far as the funding. So the information that I'm giving here is not something I just brought to the board. I brought it before the council. Even though I brought it before the council still made a recommendation. So the only thing I can do as chair is to bring you what the council have done. They knew that the funds are being depleted, but they still recommended these outstanding requests.
Mr. Calvin, and then Mr. Fisher.
I was just going to mention that perhaps special legislation provisions, we may have to go to our state legislature to request special provisions because, again, with our landlines being reduced, the funds are going to come from the landlines. And we're going to have to consider that legislation that's on the board. And with all these cell phones, that has dramatically reduced the amount of funds coming in.
Okay, Mr. Speaker.
This, Greta, how much did we transfer out of the E911 this morning by this board into the general fund?
Not totally in.
$1,739,680.
In the meeting before? In the meeting before? In the meeting before? This is where the money's going. It's going into the general fund, and the reason it's going into the general fund is we are funding a 12-month budget with about 10 months worth of funds. And I think that the issue has been brought up about financial flow is something I've been barking about since I've come into office, and this is the reality. And the reason we can't purchase the total package requested by the E911 committee today is because all the money's in the general fund. The money's in the general fund because we don't have enough money to make the year. That's the long and the short of it. And we get into debates about all kinds of things here. But at the end of the day, that's the bottom line to it. And it's something that I have spoken to the board about, and it's the way the county does business right now. I don't agree with it, but that's the way it is. So I hope that we don't have any issues with any critical situations with our law enforcement or our fire department, our firefighters' abilities to function with this. And I would also ask Mr. Lewis that when you do come back with these proposals already passed by this board, by that board, not have to be repassed by the board, and would come up first versus whatever new requests may come up in future meetings. I'm speaking of the request for Terry and Utica and Raymond and Clinton and Hinds County Sheriff's Department, etc. that have already been passed by the board, that they would come first before any new requests that would come.
You mean these that are here now before any? Oh yeah, that's going to happen.
They've already passed the board, so they would just come to the board here without having to go through the process again.
Right. All of these have been told by the council.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Did you have something?
That's it.
Okay. All right.
The next item is basically there are still fundings out there that the state has advised us of that will be coming to the county, and this is in relation to Hurricane Gustav, and they have money waiting that has already been approved, and I just need to get the board's approval to designate me as the applicant agent for those funds and to get the signatures from the board members on this FEMA 3291 need a document signed by the Hinds County Board of Supervisors requesting for the final inspection for those funds. I don't have the exact amount, and this is for Hurricane Gustav, and there will be fundings that are available for Hinds County that we will receive.
So
it's been moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved up second discussion. What can it be used for?
Basically, just any other emergency funds. I think it goes to the general fund.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All in favor, side? All in favor, side? Opposers? Motion is carried.
Let me just make this recommendation to the council, please, and I'm back on the E911 funds. I think we should look at and analyze the budget, how those funds are being spent, even with the interloan transfers. We're replacing those funds back, but the funds are still inadequate to meet all of the municipalities' requests. So let me recommend that you all analyze and establish a budget and look at what you're spending the funds on, because the interloan transfer, that's not the real problem, because those funds are being repaid. So you need to look at it and look at what
I understand.
the council needs to analyze and establish a budget.
If I could give you a little history on that. As Mr. Lewis said, average monthly revenues are about $250,000. And you spend almost all of that each month on your contracts and your telephone bills. You really clear only about $30,000 additional revenues each month. That comes to about $360,000 additional revenue. However, as Mr. Lewis also stated, the City of Jackson lease purchase for their 911 system is $750,000. So you are going in the hole just shy of $400,000, which you have to take out of the surplus that you have built up over the years. And you will continue this pattern until that system for the City of Jackson is paid in full. And that should be 2015, March of 2015, I believe is the last payment. So you have several more years of these depleting funds in that system.
Okay. Did we finish that?
Oh, yes, sir.
I mean, you finished.
The other two items that I have on the agenda, we're requesting that the board take no action on those due to the fact I haven't received any documents from the City of Byron nor the City of Cherry concerning these contracts.
Okay.
And I just need to get your signature on this.
We'll go back to the original agenda. Is that it from on the outside?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Oh, if you would like, if you want to come back to the item of the sheriff's department request, they may have information.
We're in agreement. We're all in agreement on the police.
Okay, go right here.
To please the board, in an effort to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money, we come to a consensus there.